Salutations readers, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nkechi, and I'm going to be talking about all of my stats and reflections for mid-year 2025. We are indeed officially halfway through 2025, which is kind of wild, not gonna lie. Actually, it's pretty wild, especially with so much that's been going on. Truly, it is a lot, but we've made it. That is the good news, is that we've made it this far. So let's just keep on pushing until we get to the end of the year, and the year after that, and the year after that, and the year after that, as much as we can. That's one way for me to look into it. You know what I mean? I will be linking down in the video description any related videos, I think, to any particular stats that I wanted to highlight for this year. Let's actually get right into the stats themselves. So we're going to talk about a lot of number related things. So first up, I read 47 books, which is not terrible. It's not really a terrible number to get through so far halfway through the year. I guess in this sense, I am pretty much on track to read about 90 books, which is pretty solid, not gonna lie. Even if I end up reading like 80 books, I think that's still pretty good. As long as I don't go below 75, I feel like that'll be a pretty solid reading year. I made my peace that I will not be able to read 100 books this year, which is fine. It is what it is. And as far as books DNF'd, I've DNF'd 33 books so far. It's actually kind of crazy, not gonna lie. I was like, wow, I really DNF'd that many? Like, I really DNF'd that many books so far this year. Last year I didn't DNF as many books around this point in the year. I think the year before that it was around this much, but I don't really know the stats on that one. But this year, 33, it's got a lot. Not gonna lie. I've been a little bit more harsher in my DNFs this time around, which is good. So I'm reading more books that are like more meant for me. So, you know, can't really complain on that one. I read 8,537 pages, listened to 277.37 hours, and my average reading is 4.17 stars. So I really cannot complain as far as my mid-year stats. So far, my average rating, I think, is an improvement since last year. So again, I'm not going to complain. And then my top 5 reading moods: emotional, dark, mysterious, adventurous, and tense. I think this is because of the fact I am reading less fantasy books, so I'm not having that adventurous reading mood anymore. I'm reading actually non-speculative works a little bit more, like romance and literary fiction, which is quite surprising on my part. But as far as my genres, I'm genuinely surprised that romance is my number one. I have read more romance books than I have fantasy. It's so surprising. Romance is number one. Contemporary and fantasy have tied, then literary, and then historical fiction. I don't know what's happened to me this year, but I am reading more lit fic and romance books this time around than I have fantasy. I mean, I don't know. Am I burning out of fantasy books? I hope not. There are still plenty of fantasy books I'm interested in. But this time around, I am more interested in checking out some literary fiction. And I'm finally finding some romance books that I'm interested in that are working for me. So I've been reading more romance, and I don't know what to feel about that. Like, am I now a romance reader? I don't really know. You know what? I don't really know. I feel like still like a newbie a little bit into romance. I haven't explored too much into the romance genre as a whole, unlike I did with fantasy. So I don't want to seem a romance reader. And then my reading method mostly is audiobooks, so about 40-ish% audiobooks, but also 40-ish% mixed media. So that'd be like hybrid reading with an audiobook and the ebook, or an audiobook and a physical book. So definitely my mixture here. I definitely will like an audiobook, or if I have also an option as well to like read with my eyeballs. So yeah, either I have an audiobook or I have an audiobook and read my eyeballs. So that's really my method. And then after that, I get physical books at around 11%, and then ebooks at around 9%. So not a lot of solely eyeball reading, honestly, but I'm getting more of my hybrid reading mixed media feeling right now. But that's it as far as the reading stats. Here's a graphic right here. It's pretty much like a summary of all my stats here. But yeah, generally the most surprising thing is that romance is the number one genre so far this year. Now, let's get into tracking the series I've read. So I started reading 2 series. I finished 2 series. I do have 16 series that are ongoing. Some of those series are going to have conclusions sometime this year, so I will read those conclusions and be done with those series. And then I've DNF'd a total of 7 series. There were a couple of them that I owned physically, so I've already unhauled them. And then the other ones, I'm like, okay, we are not continuing on with them. Either whether I like the first book or not, I didn't care to read any more sequels. So yeah, also cracking down as well on the series. And here's a graphic right here. As far as all the series, which books those are. If you see anything with like a minus sign, it means I had it physically and I unhauled it. Now, next up, we're going to talk about my book buying and savings from my library. This is Just to let y'all know, this is not meant to shame anyone or anything. This is just me to promote the fact that using your library, if you have access to it, please really use it. You are saving a lot of money by using your library. And not just using your library for physical books, but also for digital books as well, with audiobooks or ebooks. And also requesting from your library to also borrow some DVDs, whether it's for movies or TV show seasons. I highly recommend doing that too. I am learning the things that I'm like, oh, I didn't realize we had these DVDs for me to access for free from my library. Especially when we really need to fight the fact of our funding to protect the funding of our library systems. I'm like, y'all, we really need to be using our libraries to the best of our ability now before things really very quickly change. But right now, let's actually talk about the money stuff. So if you don't care for this, skip on to the next chapter heading. But if you're interested, I'm just going to disclose the fact that I bought 22 books. So that is physical, digital acquisitions. My total acquisition cost of the amount of money I spent so far this year on buying books is $279.59, which is a major decrease from last year. I bought way more books in the past couple of years, and it did decrease from 2022, 2023, and 2024. But 2025, this is the biggest drop for me personally, as far as buying books. And I'm very, very satisfied with this fact. I'm so glad I've not been buying as many books. Now, the total books I've borrowed from my library, so physical and digital, 113 books. And then I also borrowed 43 DVDs. So that is movies, TV show seasons. And if it's a DVD, I borrowed 43 of them. And from my library, I saved about $2,975.07. And that is a lot more than it was last year as well for the middle of the year. That's nearly $3,000 I've saved by just borrowing this stuff from the library. And even if I borrow it multiple times, I'm counting that too, because that's still an opportunity for me to just purchase it for myself, And then now if I do all the math and stuff, all the calculating the costs and do my net total of money saved from my library from books I bought myself, I've pretty much saved in total $2,695.48 by using my library system to borrow books, movies, TV show seasons so far this year. That's nearly $7,000. No, it's $7,000. That is nearly $2,700 I've saved from using my library. And it really is helpful, the fact that I've also just bought a lot less books this time around. I'm focusing more from using my library. I'm focusing more on going through my books that I already own physically from my TBR. And I'm going through the books that I can, if I really want to own it, then I buy it because I've already read it or I plan to read it pretty soon. And yeah, I've been very, very picky. Now, granted, though, I have on hold some books, though, so that's not helpful. But that is it, though, as far as my book buying, saving, library savings, all that stuff. Let's actually get into more reflections here. So we're going to start with my reading goals. So I didn't have as many reading goals, if I remember correctly, for my goals video. That I didn't really have many actual reading goals, but I did have more numerical quantity number for it. I think one of them was that I wanted to read down my physical TBR to about 50%. I am on track with that. I think I started off the year with 81 books on my TBR, and right about in the midway point, towards the end of early July, I got to about 59 books. So my TBR has indeed been decreasing. Either I'm reading the books and I'm keeping them, or I buy books, and it goes up a little bit, but then I'm either reading them or I end up DNFing them and I end up unhauling them. I will say, though, as far as my unhauling, I have barely unhauled books that I bought this year. So very much also very helpful as well, money-wise, that the books I am buying, they are staying on the shelf. They're not leaving within the year. So that's also a really good sign. And as far as reading some nonfiction works, I think my goal is to read 5 of those. I've managed to read 2. Both of them were poetry collections by the same poet. But I am kind of on track, I feel to read 1 more, maybe even 2 more. I am currently reading a memoir. So I think that will bring it up to 3. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the other 2. I think I'll be able to successfully complete this goal by the end of the year. And as far as reading translated works, my goal was to read 2. I am basically halfway through that goal because I've already read 1 so far. And I do own a few books physically that are translated. Mostly they're classics, though, but they are also translated. So I'm going to count that. So we're making great progress in that one. And then my goal for reading completed series, my goal is to read 6. I've only ended up finishing 2. Now, granted, the conclusions will be coming out later on this year, so I will have access to those books and I will be able to conclude those series. And hopefully it'll amount to 6. We shall see. I've also started series that are completed, so we shall see if I end up finishing those series by the end of the year. I don't really know. It's up in the air, but I think I'll get pretty close, if not complete this goal. Now, besides my goals, let's talk about my series TBR. I still have not started the Dandelion Dynasty series. I have not continued on the Igbo trilogy by Chinua Achebe. I am removing the Stranger Dreamer duology. I don't think I'm really interested in reading that duology. Apologies on that one. The Amber Quartet, I did start reading the Amber in the Ashes. I have put that book on pause, but I did officially start reading for this series, so we shall see how much further I get into that. I did complete the Burning Kingdoms trilogy, so grateful for that. The Alice trilogy, I decided I'm not going to try to continue on with that series. I just don't think that series is really going to work for me. So I'm leaving it alone. And then we have Between Earth and Sky trilogy. I have not even started reading Black Sun. I don't know when I'll ever read it, so we shall see on that one. And then the duology by Katie Martine. I don't really know how to pronounce that duology. I'm not interested in reading that duology anymore. That's it, honestly, on my series TBR. So mostly just removing things. I've only completed one thing. Haven't started a couple other things, but again, we're making the progress, so it is what it is. Now let's get into my Self-Destruct TBR. So I do have my previous Self-Destruct TBR from 2024 and my current one for 2025. I've only read one book from my previous one. The other 3 from that one I still own. So hopefully I'll get to like 1 or 2 of those. We shall see. And then for my current Self-Destruct TBR, I have made way more progress. I actually DNF'd half of them already and unhauled half of them. So I'm making great progress basically, but I'm not really finishing any of the books I put on that TBR. So that's a little concerning. And I'm a little bit worried if I'm going to even like the remaining half that I have left. Like Natural Beauty, I feel pretty confident I will still enjoy. Vagabonds, I don't know when I'm going to get to that one. And The Parisian, I feel pretty confident in that one. It's just going to take me a while though to read since it's a historical fiction and it's long. It's a pretty thick book, so that's going to take me a while. Vagabonds is the only one I'm like, I don't really know if I'm going to really like it. But it is translated though, so I think I'll still try that one. The only one I really am confident in though is Natural Beauty because I read Lin Ling Huang's sophomore novel, so that's all I already got for that one. Now, let's move on to my last bit here, which are reading challenges. I did complete the Reddit Fantasy Book Bingo board for the 2024-2025. Now we're moving on to 2025 and 2026. I'm slow going on that board, not gonna lie, but we're making the progress, okay? 6 Perks by 6 Friends. Also making pretty good progress. I have to say, for the people who are recommending some books to me for this year, I am so grateful for those recs because I really did enjoy every single one of those books. Adventure in Aldia, making great progress there. Buzzwordathon, also making pretty good progress. Magical Readathon for spring was a little bit of a struggle. I even had to switch careers and make a whole new character. So that was a bit of a struggle, but we made it. Asian Readathon was also a bit of a struggle, but I still made it. Now, currently, since it's July as I'm recording, it's Terror Readathon and July Noir. So, Terror Readathon's a little bit slow going. We'll see about how July Noir is gonna go for me. I'm not really sure, but since my TBR is really small, though, for both of these readathons, I still feel as though they're gonna be pretty doable. And as far as remaining readathons for the rest of the year, I'm still planning to participate in the Full Moon Readathon. That's in August. And then we have the Magical Readathon for the Autumn Equinox in September. I'll still be doing my other character with a smaller TBR because I'm not trying to give myself a larger TBR. I just don't trust myself, especially since I just know I am reading less. So we're gonna make that TBR really tiny. And then we have Black Halloween in October. Also, I think that TBR is going to be pretty small just to make things more manageable. I don't want to bite more than I can chew. And then November, December, generally, I'll be kind of participating in the Clear Your Shit readathon. I don't think I'll be following any of the prompts. I can't remember if this was a prompt-based readathon or not, but I think I'll just follow along in spirit and stuff, go through my NetGalley stuff, maybe read some more nonfiction, nonfiction November, and just read whatever I feel like in December. But yeah, that's it for the reading challenges that I've done and plan to do. But yeah, the idea is just to make the things just smaller. I just need things to be way more manageable since I am now realizing that I'm not going to be able to read 100 books this year. But that's it, y'all. That's it for this round of the mid-year stats and some reflections. I will just have to say that this year so far, my reading has been better than quality, but not as much as quantity as I was hoping for. But my mind is elsewhere right now. So, like, it's not too much on books, but it is mostly on the books. But I'm also watching a lot of TV and movies. So, like, that's taking up way more time to read. But honestly, I'm not really going to complain too much. I've let it go. I think it was March or April when I had that reading slip. I was really, really worried. But now that I'm, like, in July, I'm kind of just like, you know, it is what it is. We read so much already. Like, halfway through the year, I read 47 books. That's actually pretty solid. Maybe in other years, I read over 50, but at this point, I'm not even going to rush it. Anyways, thank you all again for watching this video. If you like it, leave a like. Comment down below, how is your reading so far so far this year? Do you feel like you're using a lot of your library? Are you buying more books this time around? Are you buying less books? Are you borrowing more, borrowing less? I don't know. How is your reading going as well? Like, are you trying different genres? Are you finding more new to you authors? Or you're struggling to find something that's new and a favorite that gets you excited to read? I know there's a lot of people who are in their reading slumps right now, so I'm actually very curious as well, like, what's going on? Like, is it the reading? Is it that you're concerned with other things outside of reading? Maybe you should just embrace that, or you're still fighting it. I don't know. Let me know. Just let's talk in the comments down below. And if you're new here, you like the video, like my vibe, you also want to see more content from me, I highly recommend subscribing if you have not already. Now, if you made this far into the video, you're not sure what to say, but you want to leave me an emoji to let me know you're here, please leave me some sort of graph emoji down in the comments to say hi. Thank you again for watching this video, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye!